Hey, good morning, FCF. We are in day 7 of our journey where we're looking at the subject of failure, something that we must understand and be prepared to cope with as followers of Christ. And today we're going to look at the story of Mark, the writer of the Gospel of Mark. He was also known as John or John Mark. We first meet him in the church at Antioch where the Apostle Paul had been ministering there for a couple years. In Acts 11, he's there with Barnabas. And in Acts 13, that church sends them out on their first missionary journey. Now, they took along with them a helper, and the helper was John Mark, or Mark, the writer of the Gospel of Mark. But this was way before all of that took place. So let me just kind of zero you in on this. I'm going to start reading in chapter 13 of the book of Acts, verse 5. It says, when they, this is Paul, Barnabas, and you'll see who else, when they arrived at Salamis, they proclaimed the word of God in the Jewish synagogues. John was with them as their helper. That's John Mark. That is his name. I'm going to jump down to verse 13. From Paphos, Paul and his companions sailed to Perga in Pamphylia, where John, that is John Mark, left them to return to Jerusalem. So get this, they start off on their missionary journey. They start preaching the gospel. Very shortly thereafter, John Mark, who was with them, accompanying them, he leaves and goes back home. He goes back home to Jerusalem. Let's fast forward. Paul and Barnabas in Acts 15, they finished their first missionary journey, but now they're about to go back out on a second journey. And I'm going to pick up reading to you in verse 36. It says, sometime later, Paul said to Barnabas, let us go back and visit the brothers in all the towns where we preach the word of the Lord and see how they're doing. Barnabas wanted to take John, also called Mark, with them. But Paul did not think it was wise to take him because he had deserted them in Pamphylia and had not continued with them in the work. They had such a sharp disagreement that they parted company. Barnabas took Mark, that's John Mark, and sailed for Cyprus, but Paul chose Silas and left, commended by the brothers to the grace of the Lord. He went through Syria and Cilicia, strengthening the churches. Now, here's the deal. This young man, John Mark, who started out with them for whatever reason, maybe he became homesick, maybe he became fearful. We don't know what the reason was, but he leaves the mission. Now they're getting ready to go out on another missionary, and Paul says, no, I'm not taking John Mark. No way, no how. Barnabas says, no, come on, let's take him. He says, no. The disagreement is so sharp that Barnabas and Paul, who were really close, they separate. And so here, because of John Mark's failure, Paul will not take him on this missionary church planting work that is so dangerous and so full of uncertainties. He just didn't feel it was wise. He doesn't take him. So you might be thinking, wow, man, Barnabas was the nicer guy. He was going to give John Mark another chance very quickly. Paul would not. That means that Paul kind of looked at his failure as not worthy of giving him a second chance, but Paul does give him a second chance. He just believed he needed a little more time to season and grow. When you start reading in Paul's other letters, like in the book of Colossians, he speaks of John Mark fondly. But let me go fast forward. At the end of Paul's life, after serving Jesus for 32 years, he's about to be beheaded by Nero, and he knows it. And in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 11, he says, bring John Mark to me. He's been of great help to me. He wants John Mark near him at the end. They have mended their differences. His failure is way in the past. His failure was not final. It's like I said before, for those that follow Jesus, failure is never final. It's never final for a faithful follower of Jesus. He's restored and writes the Gospel of Mark. But he did experience a failure. He experienced it, you'll experience it, I'll experience it. It's just so critical that no matter how many voices tell us that our failure is final, do not listen to them. Get up, be humbled by it, but walk with God and serve Him where there is an open door to serve Him. And you too will see that your failure is never final for the faithful follower of Jesus.